Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories.
This post is from the subreddit entitled People and it's by user designerad6285. Neighbor tried to borrow my 2021 Range Rover SV autobiography for a road trip to Spain. I'm 28 and live in a decent neighborhood just outside Birmingham, not posh but tidy. Most people keep to themselves and everyone mostly gets along. I've got a bit of a reputation as the car guy on the street because I rebuild damaged cars and flip them as a side hustle. Over the years, I've kept a few of the nicer ones, so my driveway usually has something interesting on it. My favorite is a red 2021 Range Rover SV autobiography, the one I actually treat like a newborn child. I've also got an older Range Rover I restored, a Defender that I swear is immortal, plus a couple of cars I'm planning to flip soon and a few others that are just more of showpieces than actually running cars. Enter Scott. He moved in last year. Early 40s, talks like he's your mate even when you've only known him 5 minutes. Definitely the type who thinks every favor is owed to him. He was obsessed with my cars from day one, always hanging around when I was working on something, always asking what everything cost and constantly dropping hints like, "If you ever want to sell one cheap, mate, I'll take it off your hands." Anyway, one Wednesday evening, he knocks on my door and says he's planning a 2-week road trip to Spain with his wife and kids. Their car is an ancient Peugeot 207 and he says it's not ideal for long-distance travel. Then he hits me with, "So, since you've got loads of cars and you don't use that red Range Rover every day, maybe we could borrow it for the trip?" I genuinely burst out laughing because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He acted shocked when I told him no, like personally offended. Started making comments like, "Young people don't know how to help their neighbors anymore. You've got so many cars, it's selfish not to share. It's not even like you'd miss it." I shut the door while he was still talking. Thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The following morning, at around 7:30 a.m., I opened my door to move one of my project cars, and there he is, standing next to my red SV autobiography with 2 suitcases, a dog bed, and a travel mug. He'd even fitted one of those neck pillows like he was about to board a flight. He'd told his family they were taking my car, and apparently they'd been loading their stuff into his garden ready to drag it over. He actually waved at me and said, "Morning, got the keys? We want to set off early for the Dover run." I didn't even reply at first because I was trying to process the audacity. Then I told him very clearly to get off my driveway. He tried arguing again, raising his voice like I was the unreasonable one. Then he pulled this move. "If you don't lend it to us, the kids are gonna be absolutely devastated. Tracy's already told them we're traveling in a luxury car. You can't back out on us now." I reminded him that I never agreed to anything and told him to leave or I'd call the police and report him for attempting to access a vehicle without permission. Our neighbors came out to watch at this point, so Scott stormed off dramatically, dragging his suitcases down the pavement and swearing about bloody selfish car hoarders. They ended up taking the Peugeot anyway. It broke down in France, twice, and they had to get recovered. Missed 2 nights of their holiday and had to fly home early. Do I feel bad? Not in the slightest. If you try to borrow someone's 6-figure car for a 2,000-mile road trip across Europe, you get the Peugeot experience. This is genuinely the most bizarre interaction I have had in my 28 years on this planet. I cannot believe what happened, neither can my girlfriend to be honest. Only thing is that from a couple of neighbors who came to chat after the whole ordeal, they told me how Scott had some backstory from how he had a restraining order from one of his previous neighbors and that's why he had to move here. So I'm just worried he might try something that might put me and others in danger. Wow, OP, Scott sounds like an absolute idiot, like you say, but let's hope his entitlement is the boundary of how idiot he can be. But just in case, I might put up some cameras if you don't have any. A ring camera, corner cameras, just in case. Absolutely ridiculous. But still, I'd do the camera thing. And what do you guys think? Have you ever had a weird interaction like this with a neighbor? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Alp Santos says, write down in detail and date your interactions with him. Hopefully you won't ever have to use it in some legal ways. Best to steer clear of him forever. And Dopey responds, I haven't had an interaction with him since. I only heard from neighbors how his car broke down twice and they had to fly back. Also, I didn't mention this on the original post, but the Wednesday in question was 2 weeks ago and the second interaction was a week ago. Haven't heard anything from him since. Just know that his car still isn't back from wherever it broke down. GDX86 says, I don't know the UK that well, but for a trip like this, if you're worried about your car breaking down, why not just rent a car for the week? I know there is probably some conversion issues due to the market and maybe difficulty taking it across borders, but assuming any similarity to how the US works, for a 2-week rental of a premium all-wheel drive crossover is about £560 sterling, about £40 a day. Like, that's nothing on a trip like this, especially compared to shipping your car home. And Dopey responds, fair enough point, but I'm not going to be the one to tell him as I want minimal confrontation with him. And Searoof3637 says, what a wank stain. Get a camera if you haven't got one. And Opie responds, oh, I do have the whole thing on camera with audio. Alright, well, community agrees. Just keep tabs on the interactions to be safe. Now, of course, Scott wasn't done yet, and we have an update. So let's move on with that to see how this story ends. Here I am again, speaking about this moron for the second time. It was a good 2 weeks of silence, but every good thing has to come to an end. You'd think Scott would have learned after the Spain trip disaster, but he didn't. Bit of backstory about how my life has been going. I've been doing exceptionally well. Up until this point, I had no interactions with Scott. And, as of recent, I had bought 5 Category B write-off Land Rover vehicles. I got them for the price of one of them. My original plan was to part them out, but after a closer look, I realized I could probably appeal the Cat B since they weren't actually that damaged. Out of them 5 cars, only one had exterior damage. The others had paperwork issues, suspension issues, electrical and flood, etc. So I appealed it. Now, you may be wondering how this is relevant. Well, basically, the big fat baboon, also known as Scott, saw these 5 cars, and since from the outside they looked perfect, he didn't suspect they were damaged, and he thought I had bought perfect ones, and as you may suspect, his 3 brain cells got to work and decided on something new. A few days later, I was in the garage working on one of my cars when he knocked on my door again, and quite literally he said, "Morning. Me and Tracy," I feel bad for Tracy at this point, "are extremely sorry for the last encounter and we really do want to go on vacation with the family. So instead of asking to borrow one of your cars, I'd love to buy some." At this point, I already saw where this was going, but I really wanted to see the stupid things he would say, so I played along. "Me and Tracy need a new car anyway, and if you wouldn't mind, Tracy also needs a car, so I wanted to buy 2 of your new cars you just got." I just said, "Sure," and he started talking about how much I wanted for the Velar and Discovery. I told him 45k for the Velar and 43 for the Discovery. He immediately shouted, "Alright, where do we sign paperwork and stuff?" Very suspicious, I know. Then he added a key little detail. He didn't have all of the money in his bank account, and he was talking about how there was some inheritance that needed to be sorted and he will pay me the rest later. Absolutely no shot. Told him to go put a tree branch up his ass. He seemed frustrated and then trotted off to his crappy little house. He also said he knows everything I built was illegal and he was going to make sure it came crashing down one way or another. Then he said something about young people shouldn't have money anyway. Then he tried guilt-tripping me by saying the kids were excited that they were getting new cars and that I shouldn't let them down. Same method as last time. But the answer stayed the same, obviously, as I will be standing my ground. I took a lot of your advice to make sure everything is documented. He walked away, then came back again a few days later with the same pitch and same amount of brain cells. This time, he said he would pay half of each car and give me the rest when he got his definitely legitimate inheritance. Of course, I said no. Please leave my driveway. That was when his tone changed. Maybe something flicked in that big fat head of his. He muttered, You know, people get tired of this. Be a shame if your cars didn't stay looking so perfect. Then he added, or if something around here got damaged because neighbors feel ignored. I didn't rise to it. I just told him, that's enough. Go home to your crappy little Peugeot, you fat bastard. And he eventually walked off. At first, I wasn't sure if calling the police was the right move because he hadn't actually done anything physical. But the more I thought about what he said and what I was told in part 1 in the comments, the more it bothered me. The wording wasn't a direct threat, but it definitely wasn't normal neighbor talk. Later that afternoon, on the advice of my girlfriend, I called the non-emergency police line. I explained the whole situation as calmly as I could. The officer said I did the right thing by reporting it and logged it as an incident involving a neighbor dispute with implied threats. They told me if he comes back or repeats anything like that, they'll send someone out to speak with him. I also let a couple of neighbors know, mainly so there were witnesses if anything else happened. Nothing has happened since then, but I'm keeping everything locked, the CCTV running, and the garage closed when I'm not outside. It's honestly shocking how far someone will push over a car they don't own and were never promised. Also, don't ask for CCTV footage this time. That footage is purely for my safety, not for entertainment. Oh, Scott, I truly hope you don't do something stupid, but I'm definitely not going to be holding my breath. And good on you, OP, for filing that report. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Off My Chest, and it's by user 10172025 throwaway. I'm headed for divorce, but my lawyer has given me the best news ever. My lawyer gave me the best news. My female 38 husband, soon to be ex-husband, has been cheating on me, and he wants her instead of me. I'm probably naive because I didn't see this coming at all. I was researching vacation options for our 10th anniversary next year, and meanwhile he, male 39, was running around with another woman. She's either 25 or 27, I can't remember which. I never thought heartbreak like this was real, but he broke my heart. I know people who have gotten a divorce, and you have to live separately for a year before you can get a divorce, but I wanted to be prepared, so I made an appointment with a lawyer now. It was probably the best thing I've ever done. She told me that in our state, alimony is forbidden if there is adultery. Since my husband cheated, I won't have to pay alimony. I was prepared that I would have to pay out the nose, but I have proof that he cheated, that he gave me himself, so I won't have to pay him. This was the best news I could have gotten. Also, the living separately for a year only applies to no-fault divorces in my state. Since I have proof he cheated, my lawyer went ahead and filed on my behalf based on adultery. Technically, my husband and I still live together. Our lease expires on the 31st, and the countdown on our separation was supposed to start in 2 weeks. I wish I could be there to see his face when 1, he gets served with notice that I filed, and 2, he finds out he won't get alimony because he cheated. He wanted a no-fault divorce, and I know he was counting on getting alimony. It was the best news I could have gotten. I don't even have the words for how amazing I feel. Well, Opie, I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this heartbreak, but your husband is outright scum. But the silver lining in this crappy moment is that he himself gave you the tools to destroy everything that he wanted to gain from this. And you get to make a clean break from deadweight waste. And hopefully the divorce proceedings move forward without a hitch so you can get on to living your life. You've done all you need to do, and now you just let your lawyer handle everything. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Donuts1031 says, as a middle-aged woman who went through divorce a few years ago, I can tell you the pain will pass. And a year from now, you'll realize this, the divorce, was the best thing in the world. I hope your future is full of laughter and love and reconnecting with yourself. Take time to grieve, of course, and probably find a good therapist, lol. But you will be so much better off, and I wish every ounce of happiness and success for you in this next phase of your life. OK Routine 1999 says, silver lining, consider having him served on the first so he doesn't trash the rental to give you more headaches than he already has. Brace for his love bombing and or trashing you to his friends and family within 3 weeks when the girlfriend finds out he's a splendid daddy. The Xiao Village says, congratulations! I went on a solo vacation for a week after I got my divorce finalized. It tremendously helped my mental state. Going out, seeing new places, meeting new people, as if I was reinventing myself. Came back with much less regret and much more confidence about myself. Perhaps you could try too. Milky Psycow says, you aren't naive. It happens to so many people and the only person at fault is the cheater. The pain will pass and you will be so much happier when you are away from him. It's wonderful you won't have to pay him a cent. I would be fighting him on any assets as well. Onwards and upwards. He doesn't deserve to bring you down anymore. And Cornrows XXX says, if you are the breadwinner, has he been spending your money on his new girlfriend? How delicious that he will be broke and out of the apartment soon, hopefully. Cheaters cheat, and one or both of them will cheat or leave each other. Glad this is working out better than you expected. Keep us updated. Well, the community is definitely showing a lot of support for OP. So now let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hi, there were some comments on my original post asking me, female 38, to update what happened after my husband was served with the divorce papers. I also wanted to thank everyone for the kind comments they left. Even though I had gotten good news from my lawyer, this has still been the most horrible time of my life, and all the encouragement did help. My husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, male 39, was predictably not happy when he was served and found out I had filed for divorce. He was under the impression that we had to be separated for a year first. I just told him to talk to a lawyer. We both moved out of our condo during the last week in October when the lease ended, and we live separately now. A few days after he was served and I told him to talk to a lawyer and leave me alone, my husband told me he had changed his mind and asked if we could work things out. I said, no effing way. Then I told him to have his lawyer talk to my lawyer because I'm done talking to him. He was upset and almost in tears when I said I wouldn't reconsider. It's been a month and I haven't seen or spoken to him, and I am ecstatic that he hasn't tried to contact me again. I had hoped he would stop trying to talk to me after the first time when I told him to get a lawyer. I'm upset he contacted me a second time. I thought I was clear the first time, but I'm glad he got the message the second time because I want nothing to do with him ever again. Our lawyers are doing all the communicating. He may have been upset, but he broke my heart first, and even the good news from my lawyer hasn't erased how broken I feel. Well, OP, again, I am so sorry that you're having to go through all of this. But again, the silver lining is that you can put this in the past and just leave it there. So in the meantime, OP, here's wishing you the best. Take care and thanks for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Apostate Nate. My boss refused to promote me or give me reasonable raises, so I developed skills on the company dime that got me over 100% raise at another company. Early in my career, I worked as an engineer for a defense contractor for about 4 years, getting my typical 2 to 4% raises and standard promotions that take years and years to qualify for. I realized that in my current role, I was pretty much maxed out for the foreseeable future and would be scraping by for years more. So I tried to get on the management track and got given a project engineer position to prove myself. I managed a team of 4 engineers, a designer, and 2 admins, and we designed and manufactured a system that made 1.6 million in sales in our first year of work. We got the company a patent and were nominated by the US Air Force and became finalists as DoD Contractor Technical Team of the Year. I don't recall the exact wording, and were flown to DC for a big award ceremony. I spent 100 days away from my family that year, traveling to test locations, customers, vendors, etc. It was brutal, but we were wildly successful. When annual performance reviews came in, mine was 10 out of 10. I was thrilled. Then I found out one of my team members who had a different manager was promoted early to a senior position and that I did not, and I just got the standard 3% raise again. I was livid. I had a meeting with my boss and his response was that he didn't think my team member deserved a promotion or a big raise, but he wasn't their boss. So basically, I should try real hard again and we'll see next year. F that. I basically quiet quit and just barely worked my 40 hours and went home. I never traveled unless I really wanted to. I never stayed late. I took almost every Friday off to burn through my leave. I took all my sick days, etc. My mental health was much better. The only thing I did extra was take advantage of the education budget our group had but rarely got used. My previously promoted co-worker, who I really liked personally, started taking MBA evening classes that the company reimbursed him for, but they came with obligations to stay there for X amount of years. They also had a nice budget for software training, without such stipulations. So we both signed up for FEA and 3D modeling classes. We traveled around together taking these classes and building our resumes. About a month after the classes were finished, I secretly started applying for jobs that require those specific skills and got hired for a position with a base annual income that was 200% my existing rate, plus it paid overtime. I put in my notice and my boss was really upset. "We just paid for you to travel all over to learn these new skills that we need. Don't you have any loyalty or guilt? How much are they paying you? Let me see if we can match it." "That's more than I make." It was, and with overtime, I made about 3 times the following year for a competitor. Life-changing good times. Willoughby, with what you did for that company, those classes are more than paid off. Nicely done, Opie, and thanks for sharing.
And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.